Boom, sneak attack. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Guest Quest, the tabletop community role playing interview show brought to you by the Gimme the Loot podcast, a TTRPG podcast that has to refer to it this way now because of tonight's guest. We are joined by Linda Codega, they, them pronouns. They're a queer, non binary Southerner living in Yankee land. They're an avid reader, writer, and fan. They write about pop culture and focus on tabletop role-playing games and science fiction and fantasy books, TV, and film. Their work appears on Polygon, Observer, Tor.com, Dicebreaker, among others, and they are currently a staff writer at IO9. They are also a Hugo-nominated first reader for Strange Horizons, and they're represented by Bridget Smith at Jabberwocky Literary Agency. Linda, thank you for joining us. Good evening.
You're welcome. Happy to be here. It is a beautiful evening here, actually. It's like 50, 60 degrees. I went outside and just like a sweater. It was really wonderful. Anyway, yeah, good evening. Hello.
That's a Texas blizzard.
Yeah. We're a balmy 80 degrees.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it must be nice.
And I'm still wearing a thermal.
We've got a lot of things to call you out for on this episode, Jazz. Don't give us another one. Joining us tonight to speak with Linda about a few things are
Tori. This isn't the one that we flip. Were we just discussing?
No. So we'll get into the format in just a second, but the intro order is still the intro order.
Okay. This is Tori. Hi. And hi, Linda. Even though we hung out for about 10, 15 minutes, awkwardly not introducing and half interacting as someone with social anxiety, that made me very stressed. So I'm really excited to introduce myself and say hello. And that's my intro.
Awkwardly interacting is our brand. What are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, shit. It's me. Oh
my God.
I'm so used to her going next. Oh, man. Okay. Well, so anyways, I'm Jamie. I play Eldrin on Gimme the Loot. And yeah, I'm good at this. So, yeah. Yep.
I'm Jazz, and I know where I go in the intro order.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
But not what time to show up for the stream. Sorry, we're late. Come on, everybody.
That's fair.
That's
brutal.
I am Anthony, who plays Babatunde, who has also never messed up his intro order.
Okay, gang. As a reminder of the format, we rolled initiative backstage. Questions go in Jazz, Anthony, Eldrin, Tori order. As always,
I get my real name. Like what?
Look, man, they're interchangeable for me. You're lucky I'm not calling you my kids and or my pets' names, because that's where it is right now. The last time I referred to my son as Baba, it just got weird. So on their turn, they will use their action to ask Linda a question. If they have a follow-up question, they will bonus action. If they have a follow-up to somebody else's question, they can use a reaction. If they are stumped for a question and there's not a decent one in the chat, they can use the dodge action. If they use the dodge action more than once, we'll make fun of them. We'll probably make fun of them for other reasons anyway. At the end of the show, if Linda so chooses, they can use their final action to ask the cast a question, which they must answer, or they can take the dodge action themselves. So, and we've gotten better about warning guests up front about that. So, and yes, we see you, Dr. Everybody. Round of applause for Dr. Fafo in the chat. Dr. Friedman just posted. I'm finally getting around to posting some of our Gimme the Belt rounds on our YouTube channel, and there are Emily and their associate who dropped it in the last minutes round is actually up on our YouTube channel right now if you want to see how they did in our charity event. So. On that note, if you're not familiar with Linda's work, congratulations on waking up from your coma and or the making it back to civilization from your sabbatical, because it's been kind of a hectic couple of weeks. Has it been weeks or days, or
it's been a month?
Been a month. Wow. Yeah, it's been a lot. Been quite a roller coaster. I guess just to lead off, obviously talking about the whole OGL brouhaha, is this the story that's ever gotten the most reaction that you've written, or where does this kind of rank on your journalist career? Oh shit! Look, I set it all on fire scale.
This is pretty high on my oh shit, I set it all on fire scale. I will say, however, that I wrote a pretty brutal takedown of the Thor Love and Thunder trailer last year that got like 2.5 to 3 million views.
Oh my.
So unfortunately, this is not a 2 million view story, but it's definitely the one that I think I'm proudest of, and I think that it's definitely the story that I'm proudest of, and it's definitely the story that I think will actually have staying power. Like I'm definitely still working on investigations regarding the OGL and D&D, so there's still a lot to come out in the wash.
Yeah.
It's ominous.
Jazz.
Okay, so I was gonna do traditional fate fashion and just dodge on first turn, because I'm late. Sorry, but I was doing some quick research here, and I happened to come across this beautiful picture of what looks like your puppy. And I was just wondering if Linda could tell us about the puppy, because they are just the best.
I can tell you about the puppy. The puppy's actually, you might not be able to tell, but the puppy's right there.
Okay.
Yeah, Zag. Hey,
Puppy cam.
Zag. Can you say hi? Anyway, doesn't matter. My dog is there. Her name is Zigzag, but her government name is Zagreus.
It's really cute.
So a couple of things about Jazz's question. Number one, last minute research. Linda has been booked for like over a month and a half, and Jazz was the one who pointed out when they tweeted, "I'd be open to coming on shows." So the guest he referred me to book a month and a half ago. He's doing last second research before he shows up late. Anthony, your question. No, you don't get to respond to that.
What's
Anthony, your
going on,
question.
man?
Okay, so this question has some history with our podcast, and what we do. We definitely look at Twitter, and that's kind of how we come up questions. You had a tweet on January 28th that says you'll never
congressional hearing.
No.
What year?
You'll never guess what I just licked. So what I have to ask, that's not the question. I don't want to know what it was. What I need to know was it a window?
No.
Okay. That's all I need to know is whether or not you had licked a window.
No. The story behind that tweet is that my friends dared me to post it as we were sort of like shooting the shit around a bonfire. And we were playing Truth or Dare because we're adults who still play Truth or Dare around a bonfire while like throwing marshmallows at each other's faces. Because we're adults and we can do that. And my dare was to post something absurd to Twitter, and we sort of we like collectively figured out what it was, and everyone was very, very entertained by how fast everyone sort of like liked that tweet and then sort of responding to it. And another like aspect of the dare was like I was not allowed to like elaborate. I couldn't like any of the responses. I couldn't tweet about it ever again. So mission accomplished.
It's done well. We have an ongoing argument on whether or not someone on our podcast licked a window. We haven't quite figured out whether or not he licked the window.
I licked the dummy light. My friends and I, we all licked the local dummy light.
What's not to be dumb, but what's a dummy light?
Yeah, not familiar.
It's basically a street light that's in like lamp format.
Oh, okay.
And it's like sort of at a center of an intersection, and there's like parts of it like it on two sides. For us, it has a yield light, and the other side has like a red light. Anyway, we all went and we lit the dummy light as a rite of passage because we're all in our 30s, and this is a normal thing for us to do on a Friday night when we're lazed out of our minds.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. Jamie.
Anyway.
Let's go with okay, so I noticed on your Twitter that you made some posts about record players and vinyl, and I was just curious, how big of a vinyl collector are you, and if you have a favorite piece in your collection?
So I started collecting vinyl a couple years ago. And when I started collecting, I was very specific about what my collection was going to be, because I knew that if I just sort of did, whatever was cool, I would get like 100 vinyls and I would just never stop buying records. So I very specifically collect 70s punk rock and early 80s. But if you go to like Black Flag, you've gone too far. It's too contemporary. Like I really like even Dead Kennedys. I'm like, no, hard out at like 1983. Nothing newer than like one of the last, like the second to last Clash album.
Nice.
I recently purchased a first press of Sex Pistols' Nevermind the Bollocks, which is a choice album. So that's the one that I really, really like, but I'm really proud of my collection because it's one of those things where it's I've been very, very careful about like what I buy, and I have like a couple local record stores that like know me and know my taste. I just got like a Stranglers album. I have a Cramps album like waiting for me. So yeah, late. So basically 70s punk rock, a little bit early 80s. If I can get a Stooges album, the like 1969 Stooges album, that would be incredible. I'm not holding my breath for that. So those are the records I collect, and I'm really, really pleased with the Nevermind the Bollocks album. I also probably my favorite punk brand right now is Stiff Little Fingers. I don't know if you guys know.
Not familiar.
They're great. They're Belfast punk rock.
Okay.
So they're very, very angry and aggressive little Irishmen, just like screaming about how much they hate the British, and I'm just like, just vibing to it. It's really good.
Okay. Tori, thank you for staying on. I'm not a hipster, but I'm going to ask all the hipster questions. Brand,
got it.
Jamie,
I'm here for it.
Tori, what you got?
On the subject of collections, well, DM, may I use my reaction first to follow up on that previous question and then use my action to ask a question because I'm greedy?
That's the action economy for sure.
Well, my follow-up is, what is the record that falls out of your very strict rules that you love? No shame in the fact that it's you've created this wonderful niche for yourself, but I feel like there's got to be one that kind of broke it. Unless you're like a really good at self-control.
No, I have not bought an album outside of those parameters. I make like exceptions for if I'm like at a concert and they're selling vinyl, I'll snag a vinyl. But no, I have not made an exception to my collection. Yeah, I think the only one is like I got like a Violent Femmes album from like 1984, 85. So that one's like a little on edge.
Yeah, just skating the lines there a little.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're on the edge. Also there's like, debates as whether or not Talking Heads is new wave or punk rock, but I think it's punk rock, so it's in the collection. Same with Blondie. Is Blondie new age or is it punk rock? But the first album, solidly punk rock, in the collection.
I don't know if my actual question is just going to kind of fold back into this, but I like to, because it kind of seems like you're hitting the points of what I like to ask everybody is kind of what is your what do you nerd out about that isn't the typical thing that somebody would call a nerd, like whether it's sports, just knowing everything about a certain sport, or music. I'm curious if there's another thing that you just have a lot of facts about sea turtles, not a personal pull. And
yeah, so definitely my like punk rock is one of those things where I'm sort of actively learning as I collect, and also like really working towards like a really cool collection. But I think this is going to be really funny. I grew up sailing, so I have a ton of knowledge about like weather patterns and sailing and boats and like if I wanted to sail across the ocean, I could, and I'm really confident about that. And like,
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. I've done like long distance open ocean racing. I was a charter boat captain in the Caribbean for a summer or two. I've touched a couple sharks. I went to like Junior Olympics a few times. Like, I'm a very good sailor, is what I'm saying here.
Nice.
Okay,
Awesome.
we need to just keep going because I'm going to have 45 follow-up questions.
We'll
45.
come back around. We will come back around. So following up then on the coastal allusion there. You mentioned you call yourself a Southerner living in Yankee Land. Is that a Florida Southerner or North Coast or North Carolina? Where is the Southerner that origin point?
So I grew up in Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. And I spent 4 years in the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, nice.
For school. So that's kind of where my Southern roots are, is definitely like the mountains, like the highlands.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit. It's definitely still the South. It's a little bit of a different South. That's why.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, where does the association with sailing then kind of come from those roots? Is it was one of those a coastal stint or?
Yeah. So my mother's in the Navy. My father designs boats for a living.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
We just I was always like on the water, like living by the water. And my father was also a sailor, and he taught me how to sail. And like, so it was just one of those things where it's just like, we were always by the water, and it was always really accessible. Like I never owned a boat. I don't have that kind of money, but if you are in like certain clubs, or if you're in certain, if you go to like certain colleges or high schools, they have sailing programs that like are free or cheap. So it's pretty accessible if you go to certain parts of certain schools, basically. And then here, so I live in the Hudson Valley, and I sail on the Hudson River. And I just have friends who own boats, and they're just like, Linda, are you free this weekend? And I'm like, you bet.
Oh, so no shit. So you're still doing it. That's awesome. This interview, the odds of it not being 90% about sailing from this point forward, pretty slim. I'll be honest.
I love sailing. I have a ton of like bonkers stories about like sailing stuff that I've done, and sailing stuff that like my brother has done and my family's done. And yeah, we lived on a boat for a summer. That was fun. I've been on a battleship before. Like, it's just like,
all right.
Can I use a reaction?
Yes, please do.
Can I just what's the best boat name that you've seen in all your travels on boats?
That's really hard, but I think that there's a boat called the Acheron. That's really good.
I want to take a reaction here just because.
Oh my God! See, I knew it.
Sure.
I knew it.
So it's probably unlikely, but still, I just gotta ask: have you encountered any sea monsters in your adventures out in the waters?
Jesus,
I'm gonna
Christ, we have a
say.
good roll going.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say I've encountered precisely like one sea monster that like I was genuinely afraid of. I was sailing in the Caribbean. We were going towards this little island called Anegada. And Anegada Island, the sort of reef right to the southeast of it, is the only known breeding ground for tiger sharks.
Oh.
So we were sailing to Anegada, and it's kind of in the middle of the ocean. There's really nothing else around for at least 10 miles. The nearest island is Virgin Gorda, which is, again, like 10 miles south. And we're sailing out there, and I look behind me, and I see this giant fin, just huge. And I'm sailing on like a 50-foot sailing ship with a bunch of children and like one other adult. And I see this massive tiger shark fin behind us. And I look ahead, and I turn to like the other guy who's like my co-captain. I'm just like, I need you to look behind us. but you need to be real subtle about it. Because of course we have like a ton of we have children on board. Like we're
Right.
actually sailing. Like we're not motoring. Like we're like fully under wind power, and that's it. So there's no real maneuverability.
Wow.
Wow.
So my Gogata looks behind us, and he comes back, and he's like pale, and his like eyes are huge, and he's like, "That's a big fish." I'm just like, yeah, that's a big fucking fish. It was, I don't know how big it was, but it was like, it's one of those where I'm just like, if I had known how big it was, I would have been like 10 times more scared. It was just a crazy moment.
Wow. Very cool.
That's why I
Very
stay
cool.
out
Thank
of
you. Yeah, no.
It's a big fish.
All right. Jazz, you are back up.
Oh, okay. So, given your research and studies that you've done, or I guess pieces that you've done, what has been your favorite TTRPG that isn't D&D that you've encountered?
Oh, that's hard because here's something that you guys might not like to hear. I don't really enjoy playing Dungeons and Dragons very much.
Okay.
We don't make it. It doesn't hurt our feelings. It's
Yeah,
fine.
nope.
Yeah. So I don't really play Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't play crunchy games. Like I know how to play them, but it's not my thing. I prefer stuff that's narrative focused and has like less dice, basically.
Mhm.
Is the best way to put it. So there's like a lot of games out there that I really, really like. I think Into the Odd is one of my favorites for like straight up OSR, like dungeon delving, because it's just really wonderfully satirical. Like it understands what it is. It's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, that is on my docket to pick up. I just got done reading, I'm gonna say a dumb, I grew up in the South way, Vason, whatever.
Yeah.
Free League has got some really cool stuff and is doing some really cool stuff.
Free League does do a lot of cool stuff. I get a lot of their products. I am always like a little weird about them because I've never seen more than like 2 women work on a book.
Oh, really?
Never. Like look inside any of their books. It's like maybe one or 2 like female names. It's one of those things where I'm just like, what are you guys doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys doing? But they do some really cool stuff. I think that the Year Zero engine is really cool. I'm a little weirded out about their Blade Runner RPG because you can only play as a Cap.
Really? It kind of misses the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can only play as that's like my whole thing about it too. It's just like
The face.
Yes,
What?
that's exactly correct.
Roll.
Everything you just said, yes.
Yes.
yeah, so I like a lot of what they do, but I do agree that like there's some things that I'm just like, what's happening over there?
Yeah, interesting.
I am listening to a AP podcast called Interstitial or Hearts Intertwined, which is basically a Kingdom Hearts game called Interstitial that like the GM or the writer is GMing this AP.
Okay.
And it's really fun. Like the very first season has Roxanne from the Goofy movie, but Roxanne from the meme, damn bitch, you live like this. Right? So that's one of the characters in the AP is the damn bitch you live like this, Roxanne. It's beautiful.
Okay.
There's also Marsh from Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, and then an original character from Rescue Rangers who's also in the Cult of Gadget, and then the 4th member of the original adventuring party in the first season of this AP is Chris Angel.
Holy Jesus. Oh, okay.
It's
Famously
perfect.
of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So they did like the first season, they're just like, okay, any Disney property. And like Chris Angel had a television special on like a Disney owned channel. So they were like, technically speaking, Chris Angel's a Disney prince. It's perfect.
Yeah. He definitely does have some Disney Prince energy for sure.
So I've been doing Interstitial. I've been listening to that, and I'm about to GM a game of Interstitial. And then Crescendo of Violence is the one that I was talking about that I'm also going to GM soon. But it's basically neon noir, and it's set in the future, and it's not cyberpunk. It's very clear about that. And
Mhm.
instead of like giant corporations, there's just like mob families running everything.
Cool.
Yeah. And the art in this one's really, really pretty, which you can't really see because I blurred out the background. But I'm very excited about that one, especially because it has this really cool action economy where every time you roll to take an action, you have to spend a luck token. So you get 3 luck tokens.
Mhm.
And as soon as you use up all 3, they immediately refill. And one of them is bad luck, neutral luck, good luck.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can choose your narrative positioning. And then there's also like momentum tokens, which is a less retrievable token-based system where you get like a +1 to your die pool when you take an action. So it's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So anyway, Crescendo Violence is one that I'm really interested in.
Pulling that up right
Oh, guys, my mother's in the chat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Wait.
Hi,
Ooh,
Mom.
okay. All right.
You can ask.
question. No.
You can still
No, I'm
ask
joking.
it.
No.
You can still ask the question. I've told my mother.
Glad I got my
multiple-
first question out the way.
Listen, I told my mother multiple times that she will eventually find out something about me that she doesn't want to know, and that's on her. I've warned her.
That's what she gets for being supportive.
It's what she gets for being supportive and lovely. Yeah.
You're up, Anthony.
I love her,
So
but she's
my question
so
was,
funny.
What's
wanted
it
to
like
know
to
a
have
little bit
parents who
about-
support you? I don't know. Anthony, your question.
wow. No, that's not what my question was. No. What's the story about like how you became a writer at IO9? Like, I'd like to hear kind of that story. Like, how does that come about?
Games journalist origin story. Go.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I've always wanted to be a writer. I've always wanted to write. And I've always taken jobs that have allowed me to utilize writing. And I was in this like kind of like pretty boring marketing job. And while I was there, I started writing freelance. I just started like pitching, articles to all these outlets, and then I eventually got into another magazine position for this film magazine called Shots that mostly focused on advertising film, commercial film. So and then again, I still kept pitching, Polygon, Observer, Tor, all of these articles about stuff that I actually liked, rather than just being like watching commercials and being like, the most recent sellout looks pretty, I guess. So it was one of those things where it's just I was pretty tenacious about like just continually pitching and getting these bylines, and of course like one byline leads to another byline. And when I left that job, a job at IO9 opened up for an investigative reporter. And this was in late 2021. And I applied for that job and I got 2 interviews in, and the woman interviewing me was like, "You're really great, but you don't have the experience to be an investigative journalist." And then I reapplied for another position as staff writer. And as soon as I got that position, I'm just like, I'm going to do some investigative journalism. Like, don't worry about it. Like, nobody, don't worry about it. And then I just continually did investigative journalism. And that's my origin story. It's pure running on spikes.
Very nice. So not bitten by a radioactive newsie, actually put in the work and worked your way up.
Sadly, yes.
Jamie, you're up.
Since I did not use a reaction on this before, I forgot to speak up. What is the best Kingdom Hearts game, or your favorite Kingdom Hearts game, and who is your favorite Kingdom Hearts character?
I've never played Kingdom Hearts.
Wow.
Neither have I.
It's just like, the podcast sold it as Kingdom Hearts-esque, and I'm like, I don't even know what Kingdom Hearts-esque is to start. So
I've played every single game in the series, and I don't know what the hell's going on in there. So that's fine.
Yeah, they sold it on for people who don't know about what Kingdom Hearts is, they sold it as like a fan fiction crossover machine, and I'm just like, I know what those words are. I understand that.
Very much so. If it was a slash fiction crossover machine, I think it'd be a little bit more interesting. But
the way I run it.
There you go. There you go. In the TTRPG space, it can get there. Tori?
Oh man, I went up and down with the sailing questions and boats, and then we got into other. Oh gosh. I feel like I had a good question a little bit ago. Oh no. Okay, we were talking about dogs. I'm gonna walk. We're just gonna. You'll cut this, right, Turner? Right?
We're live.
From everyone.
We're live, right?
Yeah,
We're live right now.
cut this. Can you cut this? Can you cut this?
Need the flashy thing from MIB.
In the rebroadcast, yes. Sure. Just like I told Jazz, it'll never make it into the intro. We'll cut this out in post.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah,
It makes it to the intro every time.
Oh, I remember. Okay. So it sounds like you've been interested in writing for a long time. So would you say back into childhood?
Yeah, definitely. My mother can probably tell you that like she's kept stories I wrote as a kid and poems I wrote when I was 10, like really wild stuff. But yeah, definitely been writing forever, as long as I can remember, for sure.
Perfect. I would love to know about one of those poems, one of those writings. Like what?
I know for a fact. One of them was when I was like 10. I wrote a poem about Legolas because the Fellowship of the Ring had just come out. So,
love
it.
All right.
Do I have another reaction?
Yes, Faith.
Oh man, you sounded so excited about us using them, and now that I'm doing it, you're like, oh, this guy again.
There we go.
All right. So, what I guess from your childhood would be your most influential, piece of like media that you consumed, whether it be like a book or a movie, like as far as like informing your writing style?
Yeah, so I think that there's a solid grouping that I can point to. The first is my father read stories to me, and we got through the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy by the time I was 5.
Nice.
Something like that. So that was like a huge influence. And then when those movies came out, it was like all over for me. I was like, this is it. This is perfect. Everything is amazing. And then that same year, the year that the first Lord of the Rings film came out, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out. Yeah. And I don't know what my father was thinking, but he was like, let's take this 10-year-old child to go see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And that also like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And we went to go see it a whole nother time. So I don't know why my dad was like, yes, I will take my 10-year-old kid to go see like this rated R Chinese martial arts film, but he did. So
it's a really good movie.
Yeah, and definitely an inflection point for me. So I think it was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon early when I was 10, and then Lord of the Rings when I was 11, and then right around that time, the Tamora Pierce books were really big. And I read the one series called Protector of the Small, and it had Caladrine Mindolin, and she was kind of big and burly, and she was not interested in love, and she didn't have any magic. She was just like super tough. And I'm just like, yeah, that one.
I'm gonna read that tomorrow.
Yes, it's one of those things, like it's 20, the series is like 20 years old, but I think it still holds up pretty well. But Caladrine Mindolin was a big thing for me. Also Treasure Planet.
Oh, wow.
All right.
So I think those are like the big influences like on baby Linda.
That is a fantastic cross section, by the way. That is an awesome pool to draw from. I would be derelict in my duty of soliciting questions beforehand if I didn't ask the one that I actually got in advance. And man, I went through a lot of emotions on the whole OGL drama, and a lot of it was surly old man frustration. And it took me a while to figure out why, because I work with contracts in my day job, and I went, oh, this is because it seems like I'm still at work when I'm reading this. And that's why I keep getting the, yes, corporations are trying to fuck us, no joke, vibes from it. But
Yeah.
we're from the broader community reaction as a whole. What was your thoughts on how the community reacted, how they mobilized behind the story, and what the not even what the downstream was, but just largely the community reaction as a whole? What kind of went through your mind when you started to see this? I think it's fair to call it a movement really start to take place as it got rolling.
Yeah, I think it was really incredible. I didn't quite believe it was happening until it was actually like 3 or 4 days in, and I'm just like, no, people are going to stay mad about this.
Mm,
And people are going to keep trying different ways of pushing back against D&D and Wizards of the Coast, which is not something that like usually happens in these kind of articles. So usually it's like something happens, people are mad for a couple days, and then maybe like a small group of people like stays active. But for this, it just kept building and building and building, and I'm like, what's happening? What's going on?
Snowball just keeps rolling.
It just kept going. It was like really unbelievable for me because I've seen a lot of this kind of online outrage and online like movements like cycle through, and it was really incredible to see like people having this kind of sustained energy towards fighting a giant corporation, not just like taking it lying down, which I thought was just incredible. I'm like, okay, I see it. I see what's happening here. And I love it. And so it's just one of those things that it was really remarkable. I definitely became a bit of a flashpoint, which was still like doesn't seem quite real. And I'm happy to sort of consider that like, oh yeah, 15 minutes of fame. And now I'm like just gonna keep doing tireless, unappreciated work for the rest of my life. Thankless journalism, which I love doing.
Hey, look, that the Thor: Love and Thunder wasn't that great. You taking down the trailer was a canary in the coal mine for all of us. That should have been appreciated just as much.
People should have known. When I said something was bad, people should have known. Anyway. But yeah, so just sort of seeing that reaction was I would have never predicted it. I'm very grateful it happened. I think that the collective movement is absolutely what caused Wizards of the Coast to turn back, alongside the pretty unrelenting journalism, not only from me, but from like a bunch of other people who were like nonstop, like, we're not going to rest, because everyone was talking about it. So it stayed in the news. So people were able to like put it on websites and do journalism and do follow-up stuff. So it just continually like stayed in the news cycle and like spread like further and further and further until like the fucking Washington Post was talking about it. And like NPR called me up, was like, we'd like to do an interview with you. And I'm like,
Nice.
Yeah.
Me? So yeah, really incredible, really wonderful. The community, I've never seen a community do that before. Not with the kind of like sustained effort, not in a way that like breached silos, and sort of everybody was just like, actually, we fucking hate this, rather than just like one group of people saying like, this is bad or offensive or unfortunate or like should be changed. It was literally like everybody saying like, fuck you.
Yeah, it was Wizards of the Coast kept managing to fuck up the communication on it. I mean, thoughts on the contract management basis of it aside, that it is, and they have been on a roll really since the Hattazy of really fucking up communication and corporate communication and community relations in a way that is baffling for an organization of that size. And they don't seem to be getting any better at it, even though they've put some new voices and faces in it. There are still some things that are being said that's just like, wow, this is institutionally that you don't get the message of what you're saying.
Yeah, that the Hadozi, that whole debacle, that whole like moment was weird. And that's all I can say about that right now. But it's really weird.
Yep. Yeah, having listened to I'm totally blanking on the guy's names interview with friend of the show, Three Black Halflings. Kyle. Yeah, Kyle. It's Kyle. Some of the comments he made just were like, whoa, dude, I don't think you understand what you're saying in the way that you're saying it. So, but anyway, I wanted to ask that. Happy to go back to sailing talk at this point. I'm really more excited to talk about that anyway.
We
Jazz?
can talk about whatever. It's fine.
Jazz?
Oh, is it back to me? I thought
Jazz?
Jazz.
Oh, okay,
Jazz.
sorry. All right. Jazz.
Jazz.
Didn't realize I was up. Sorry. Dodge.
Really?
What?
All right, fine.
I lost track of the initiative order. My fault.
Yeah. That's why I put you in that order on the bottom of the screen. Like if you look at the screen, Anthony.
Yeah. So I saw you had a post of or not a post, but you wrote about the 28 best sci-fi, horror, and fantasy films of 2022, and I was curious: is there anything you've seen in the first few months of this year that you're like, that's definitely getting on my next list?
Probably not. I haven't seen a lot of films so far. No, I'm gonna say no. But that's not because there haven't been good films. It's just because
They've been busy, Anthony. if you're paying attention.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I really want to go see. I really want to go see The Whale. I really want to go see. There's like another weird sci-fi. I want to go see Infinity Pool.
That's Cronenberg's son's movie, right?
Yeah. Brandon Cronenberg. I love that man. I love that man. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm so sorry. I haven't seen any films this year yet.
All good.
You have failed us, Linda, in our moment of need. Jamie, your question.
Oops.
I'm going to stick on the movies here. What are your
Because that last question about the movies panned out so well. Let's double down on it.
Speculative movie stuff. So what are your thoughts on the Dungeons and Dragons movie after seeing the trailers? Are you excited for it? Do you think it looks terrible?
Oof, here we go.
I love Chris Pine with all of my little heart. Just like all of it. He can have it. I'm giving it to him.
He is one of the better Chris's.
He is one of the better Chris's, if not like the best Chris in my personal ranking. Also, Michelle Rodriguez as a really, really buff butch barbarian definitely does it for me. She's incredibly hot. So I'm excited only because I know that it's just gonna be like it's just gonna be like tons of eye candy. But whether or not it's gonna be good, who knows? I think that it's going to be a very Marvel style fantasy film.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's actually going to be very good. But I think so. But whether or not it's going to be a fun time is kind of up in the air. Is it going to be good? No. Will it be a good time? Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think it'll be fun. I think as long as the people that are in it are having a good time, that will come across. It'll come across well, and I don't think it'll be bad, but I don't think it'll be good. So
Chris Pine got paid $11 million. He better be having the time of his fucking life. He got paid more than literally any other like any other star in that film. And I'm just like, my man better be like acting his whole pussy out. Like it better be out.
I think they could save it if they did like a Snails, like Marlon Wayans Resurrection cameo. Speaking of the year that Lord of the Rings came out, it was also the year that the Dungeons and Dragons film came out. The first one that was, on par, like CGI wise and acting and storyline for the time, right? She says sarcastically and stares at someone, and there's somebody in this group that
Jazz
loves
is
that movie.
crying on the inside.
Jazz's favorite movie.
Fine. You know what? Reaction. So
There it is.
I was gonna, because they were gonna roast me about it anyway. What are your thoughts on the original 2000s D&D movie? And be honest, it's fine.
I haven't seen it.
For the best.
Okay, that's fair.
For the best.
That's fair.
What's your opinion? No opinion. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
There's so many films, guys.
Yeah,
There's
a lot.
It's exciting
so many
when
films.
someone asks if you've seen a film because they're excited about it, because then that's just another film you can add to a list that has like a solid recommendation behind it. Except
That's
minus
true.
this specific
This
situation.
is not.
You
a-
don't need to watch
this
this
is not
film.
one of those circumstances. This is not.
This is
Absolutely
not
not.
it.
I'm just
No.
not. No.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Tori, you're up.
Ah, darn it. I'm either
It's the same order every time.
I
It's not
know.
right.
I'm either severely overprepared or just shocked to be acknowledged.
I know you're thrown off because
And
Harlan's not here to
perceived.
bully, which I appreciate. Like, I get it. I do what I do in those moments, pick on Jazz. That's why we pick on Jazz, because Harlan's not here to bully. So
Yes,
Rough.
perfect. Thanks for the tips.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious, Linda, we kind of teased us with that you're working on a project, but kind of coming to the other side of this, or maybe there's more depth into it. We'll see in the upcoming days, but I'm curious, maybe even before this whole thing blew up, like what are you excited, like next project wise, or kind of what's blue sky, like what are you going towards? Is there a specific topic that's kind of pulling you right now?
Yeah. So right now I have a couple investigations I'm working on. One I'm trying to get out this week. That's a follow-up on previous reporting from the past month. I have another investigation that I can't talk about at all that will hopefully be out in like 2 or 3 months. But I have an investigation that I started last year that I was never able to finish because stuff just came up and it was never like a high priority, and then it wasn't timely anymore, and then the OGL happened. So it's been on the back burner for I think 2 or 3 months, but I can talk about that one. That one's not nearly as sensitive. Basically, I did an investigation into how Anne Rice dealt with fandom in 2000. So I don't know how much you guys know about this, but Anne Rice basically in 2000 decided that she hated fan fiction. And she was going to do
investigation.
She was going to do everything in her power to basically destroy any fan fiction that was online. And this was 2000. So it was before the Creative Commons license, before Archive of Our Own, and she basically wiped out an entire queer fandom in less than a year.
Wow.
She destroyed it. She went absolutely nuclear, and I was able to find the very first people that she sent cease and desist letters to. I was able to find the lawyer that sent those letters, and I was able, and I have like a dozen first person stories about like how her actions made these writers feel and how her actions basically destroyed the creativity of these writers. And it's just a really incredible story, and the implications of what she did are, or the sort of the ripple effect of that like singular year in fandom can be felt like even today.
Wow.
So it's kind of this cultural look at Anne Rice's legacy as like a fandom boogeyman and how that's changed and evolved, and how in some ways it's good because it taught people like a lot of independence as like fans, and it taught people like you don't need the creator, like you can do whatever you want, you don't even need their permission, like even if they tell you you can't do it, you can still fucking do it. So in a way it was like this really cataclysmic moment where fans had to decide whether they were going to like kowtow to authority or whether they were going to just write about the vampires having sex anyway. Anyway, so
I love that. Such an insightful like reflection on this point in time, and then just ending on vampire sex is just chef's kiss. Just I applaud.
I'm so sorry,
It's a
Mom.
journalist.
I'm so sorry, Mom. Yeah, look, I'm into it. It's fine.
They're an artiste. It's for research.
IP mother.
If you're writing about vampires and you're not writing about vampires doing it, you're doing it wrong.
What is the point?
You're doing
What
it
is
wrong.
the point?
Yeah.
There's no point. Anyway, so that's like an investigation that I'm really, really excited to pick up again. And hopefully I'll be able to publish that, I think, around the time that season 2 of Interview with the Vampire releases.
Right on.
So that's the goal. But that's something I'm always really fascinated with.
Cool. As so again, just kind of getting back to the journalism aspect of it, because I think it's one thing that has been particularly interesting to watch evolve. Really, it feels like over the last 15 months, more than anything, kind of in the mainstream gaming journalism sites like Polygon and IO9, Kotaku, where TTRPG articles have obviously started to become more prevalent. Is as you got into games journalism, was the intention to write about TTRPGs or write in the TTRPG space specifically, or is that, hey, this is what I was into at the moment, and that's what sparked this pitch, and these pitches got picked up, so I figured out this was the kind of groove I could get the needle into? Or has there been some resistance to those kind of articles? Just kind of getting a feel for how that particular piece of games journalism moved from kind of the more niche zine space into some of the more main, other than, hey, a whole shit ton of people are playing it, we should write more of these. What your experience has been like in that particular space?
Yeah, so it definitely, when I first started pitching freelance stories, it was one of those things where it's like, well, this is what I just pitched whatever I was into at the time. So, whether it was Dungeons and Dragons, or I did a rewatch of The Fall with Lee Pace, and I was like, this is great. And I like pitched an article about The Fall. I rewatched Inception, and I pitched an article about Inception. So stuff like that happened a lot. And I was frequently interested in tabletop role-playing games, so I pitched a lot of that sort of thing. Again, bylines. And when I saw the job opening for IO9, they actually were specifically looking for someone who had experience covering tabletop role-playing games. So that was actually something that they were looking to fill and looking to kind of round out their coverage. And the big thing is that David Ewalt, my editor-in-chief, like my boss's boss, actually like wrote a book about Dungeons and Dragons back in like 2013, 2014. So he's a big fan of the game, and he knew that he wanted that coverage to like exist on the site because he recognized that it was only growing in popularity, and we were missing out by not having someone on it.
Cool.
Yeah, and I definitely credit David and my editor James for being like pretty great about when I got that OGL leak, and I went to them and I was like, this is a big deal. David immediately knew it was a big deal. And again, because he's like a huge fan of the game, he's written about its history. He's like, interviewed the Gygaxes, like really like he knows this game. He was just like, oh, it is a big deal. Like run with it, like chase this lead.
Mhm.
And James was really, really great about like making sure I had time to chase it. But I think that that's something that made IO9 unique, is that I feel like if another outlet had gotten that leak, they might not have known what to do with it. There are sites like Polygon, there are sites like Dicebreaker, like they would have known what to do with it. But I
Right.
think outside of like the niche nerd sites, I don't necessarily know if someone at like the Washington Post or the Times,
Right.
or, you know, any of the larger, or even like, you know, any of the larger legacy outlets would have known how big of a deal it was, and would have known how to work that lead. So yeah, I'm really grateful it came to me, and I'm really grateful that my editors were like, go for it.
Yeah, I think IO9, well, Kotaku, and to, I guess, are Kotaku and IO9 still associated? I know after the whole Gawker Media kind of kerfuffle, is there an association still there? Because
Yes.
I always
We're-
linked it to in my head. So
Yeah, no, you're right. So IO9 is under the Gizmodo umbrella.
mhm.
And Gizmodo and Kotaku are sister sites. We're both
Right.
under GO Media. So yeah,
there
we're
is a little
still
bit.
buddies.
There
We're in
is
the
a
same
little.
Slack.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a history there with Schreier and some of kind of the investigative video games journalism that he's done.
Right.
And so I can definitely see there being the roots to know what you had in your hands, and having the editorial wherewithal to go with it. And that's cool that they had your back in that front.
Yeah.
Because that could have gotten messy. And it was handled pretty well. So
Yep.
all right, guys, we are at the back end of the hour, so lightning round, and then we will kick it over to Linda to ask us a question. So Jazz, lightning round question, go.
Okay, this one's kind of self-serving, but I've been told that I'm the anime buff of the group.
Sick.
I came across you seem to be enjoying spreading the word of Promare to your friends. I have a friend who's been trying to put me on Promare for a while, and I haven't watched it yet. Can you sell me?
It is about fighting eco-terrorist capitalism through the power of gay love and mechs.
It's actually pretty good.
That checks all the boxes, Jazz. Linda wins. Anthony, you're up.
Gay love and mechs. That threw me. Hold on.
That's pretty good.
I was like, I think I need to figure out how that works.
But it's true.
I'll draw you a diagram later.
Oh no, that's not what I meant. In the show, in the narrative of a TV show.
It's a movie. It's also a movie. So it's really consumable. It's also by Studio Trigger, who did Kill la Kill, and you can sort of see a lot of like references to their older work in that movie. So it's really great if you're an anime buff and you like the Trigger stuff. So
I am a fan.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask, you said you haven't watched much this year, but like what is on your list like coming up? Like what do you think you're like, all right, I'm gonna stop my busyness and I'm gonna watch that?
I'm really excited for the Tetris movie.
I watched the trailer for that last night. Yeah, that looks so damn good.
I know it's so weird. It's so weird to say,
but
that I'm excited for the Tetris movie. But it's basically Tetris by way of like a Cold War spy thriller. And I'm just like, okay.
Which, speaking of weird shit tied to the Cold War, if you haven't watched Pez Outlaw yet, I stumbled across that the other day, and it has very similar crossing the Iron Curtain to buy black market Pez to resell in the US, only to be taken down by the giant Pez, by Big Pez.
Big Pez.
By Big Pez. It is extremely well done, and like has I highly recommend Pez Outlaw if you're excited for the Tetris movie. A lot of the same energy in Pez Outlaw, and was a pretty good watch. Jamie,
can you give me a 1 or 2 sentence description of your favorite TTRPG character that you've created for a game?
Pick a favorite child.
It's so hard. that's tough. Okay, I mean, like I have Crescendo Violence right here. I once played a game of Crescendo Violence with a boxer. He was a boxer who was turned into like a criminal for a mafia family, and he was like a big, like a heart of gold boxer, and he was like one of the roughs that was like hired. His name was Gustin. He was in love with this lounge singer, and his nickname was Gus the Bus because he didn't stop for nobody.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice.
Anyway, he was great. Gus.
Dory.
Maybe just don't say my name ever, Turner. The second it just triggers something in my brain to shut down. It's just a whole lobe. It just goes dark. I have so many thoughts.
Person that follows Eldrin and precedes me.
Oh my goodness gracious. I should be writing down my questions instead of writing down Pez Outlaw and Sticky Little Fingers.
So you're saying it's my fault. Thank you. I'll take responsibility.
And Linda too, of Sticky Little Fingers here and Interstitial and Crescendo Violence.
Oh, Stiff Little Fingers.
Stiff Little Fingers. Sticky Little Fingers would have been something different. Thank you.
Hey.
Let's do. Here we go. We'll edit it here. My question. Oh, it's gonna haunt me if I don't remember the exact one.
You know what's funny is when this goes on to long enough to go, I'm going to step in with a question to stall for her and vamp for time while she remembers. And every time that I start to do that, you immediately remember what you were going to ask. So I'm always like, what? Nope. And so this doesn't count because I'm not actually about to ask a question. So you haven't remembered yet.
See, you just have to start making fun of me.
That is the trick. Pick on Jazz or the last person that shows up to the show. We go by slumber party rules here. First person to fall asleep and or last person to show up is the one that gets and it's just consistently
always me.
Most frequently Jazz. Yeah, that's just the way that it's worked out. So
damn it.
Okay, well,
what's your favorite snack?
See, I knew it.
That wasn't what it was.
We got it.
Damn it! Come on. Okay, let me ask. Let me do one real quick. So obviously, hardcore Lord of the Rings roots. Thoughts on Rings of Power?
It's a beautiful waste of money.
Oh,
not inaccurate.
I mean, it's yeah. Oh gosh, my keyboard is Elvish. Can you see?
Wow, that is LOTR cred.
I don't know if you can see, but it's Elvish, I promise.
Oh, you can see it on the space bar.
I can see
yeah.
Sure.
Which would be typical Elven. That it would take 6 words to say space. I mean, if there's anything that doesn't.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so I have issues with this keyboard. I love it, but it's weird. It uses weird Cinderin words, and then it just like makes some up, and I'm like, choose a side. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yes, it's a beautiful waste of money. I don't know, man. Do you need $1 billion to make an 8-episode television show and like only have half of it matter to the plot? Like, what's the angle here, man? Like, what are you playing at? Like, you could do like literally 3 seasons of this show at like $1 billion budget and make it better.
Yes.
Can't argue.
Bezos gonna Bezos. Tori, it seems like it came to you.
Yes, and I hate that there's so much buildup. Is there anything new and exciting happening in sailing? Any new boat technology? You're like, what's the latest in sailing?
I think that the kind of like big thing in sailing right now is that boats have gotten so fast that they're boring to watch. Yeah, I mean that's like kind of the big thing is that they're trying to get more people to watch the sport, and they've started like airing it on sports channels. But they've basically like perfected sailboat technology to where like the sail on the sailboat is basically just kind of this flat aerofoil that's basically a wing. So like of an airplane. So it's not canvas, it's not fabric, it's not sheeting. It's literally just like the wing of an airplane is popped on this hull, and they just go. They just like point it in a direction, and these boats like sail faster than the wind, and they make their own wind when they sail. So it's gotten to the point where it's like there's a ton of skill involved, but it's very, very boring to watch because everything is planned out so minutely. So the thing that a lot of like the America's Cup and those big sailboat races are trying to like figure out, do we go back to the old way of sailing?
Yeah.
Which is just so funny to me. So they're trying to figure out like how do they make sailing interesting now that they've perfected the sailing technology. And I'm like, well, it took you guys like 6,000 years to like get to this point. Now we're just gonna regress, and it's amazing.
You know, I remember the America's Cup being a bigger deal. Like
Jazz is having a great time right now. Jazz thinks I'm very funny. I'm very, very excited.
Whoa.
Anyway.
I remember the America's Cup being a bigger deal when I was younger, and like it's funny that you say technology because I remember I think it was the year that Japan won. They had the giant shark fin rudder underneath the boat, and everybody's making such a huge deal about it. And then America won again, and everybody's like, "Okay, nationalistic jingoism over. You guys can stop paying attention to sailing now." And that's the last year I remember it.
Yeah, like I said, they've perfected the sailboat to such an extent that it's like boring to watch, which is hilarious.
I think
so people on an island, they build the boat, or they
I
don't
think
get to
they
leave
know
the
the
island.
answer, and the answer is cannons. We knew how to make sailing
There you
exciting
go.
back in the old days.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to blow up the other boats. Put some
Piracy,
paintballs,
obviously.
man. Paintball cannons, safe and effective.
Wonderful.
Because we would all be here for that, I think, at the end of the day. So
Also, funny chants.
Yes.
We're really missing out on those.
More sea shanties.
You know, there's only so many sea shanties. I can't say sea shanties. She shanties. She shed. All right. Linda, Anthony ran away, but we'll get him when he comes back. Question for the cast to close us out.
Is it a collective question or individual questions?
They each answer individually, but you can look. Dealer's choice, however you want to handle it. If you want to ask them their own personalized question, okay. If you want to ask one single question that they all have to answer differently, also okay. Your call.
No. I'm gonna do it individually. First up, Tori, were you a band geek?
Was I a bad geek?
Band geek. Were you in band?
Geek.
You give off.
I give off band geek.
You give off clarinet energy, and I just want to.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Wow.
Oh, I've been described in so many ways, and that's the first time I've heard that. I love it so much. My school didn't have a band. I went to a science and engineering magnet high school. We didn't have band or sports.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
What's the more nerdy way to say no? I wasn't a band geek. I was a other.
I went to a band.
I think you found it. I went to a science and engineering school.
Yeah. Well done. Good to know.
I'm glad I give off the vibes of a musician, though. I feel cooler.
Clarinet.
I never said musician.
Yeah, big clarinet energy is a vibe. I don't know if it's musician vibe though, for sure. And it 100% nailed it in a good way.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What are some other questions? Okay, so who asked me about someone else asked me about like my record collection. I think it was Anthony.
It was Jamie.
Jamie. Sorry, you're all really small at the bottom.
They look exactly alike. It's an easy mistake to make.
That makes sense. Yeah. Do you collect records?
I do. I do. I collect horror soundtracks and movie soundtracks in general. But
That's
yeah.
fine. Okay, we're done. That's enough. Got it.
Just muted.
Wow.
That's
Wow. Linda
that's
takes
funny.
down the cast at the end of the show one by one. From big
That's
Parent
enough of
Identity
that.
to okay, white boy. Next
Like,
up.
that's enough of that. Oh boy.
Yeah. She's your favorite guest ever, everybody. Favorite guest ever.
I'm just like we're done. Okay. Anthony, do you have any secret skills or special talents?
Because you look like you don't. Just felt like the energy. Not to put words in your mouth. I just,
It's gonna be diaper changing. I know it.
Man, not that are secret, I don't think.
Can you? Okay. Nothing.
No, not that I think
He
is
does.
secret.
He does.
What's my secret?
What is it,
What's my
Jazz?
secret talent?
Spill the beans, man.
My brother's in the chat too. He's probably gonna
Yeah,
call
Wendell,
me out.
give it up.
What up?
He's low key a writer. He's a bit of a poet too, or at least he used to be for sure.
Is that a secret? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true, but I don't know if it's a secret.
not
but yeah,
widely
okay.
known.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, talent that he doesn't advertise anywhere near enough on the show is that he manages and runs a competitive rap battle company that he should promote more frequently. Because I went, wait, what? I never hear about it. And it's 3Co? Is that the?
I thought you said
it's 3O. Yeah.
Rat battle? As
Rat
in
I thought you
battle?
said
Rat
rat battle. I said
Yeah,
like
rat battle.
rodents fighting each other. And
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, I don't
It's-
think that's
it's-
legal.
It's cockfighting
That
for the
one
generation,
actually is my
Linda.
that one's my secret company.
There you go.
That
That is
doesn't
battle.
sound.
Yeah, rat
That
battle.
doesn't sound legal.
It's kind of like oh god, what is it? Not like Bakugan, except with rats.
Oh no, that's Beyblade.
That's
Different.
what I was trying to remember. God damn it!
Oh, okay.
And I blanked
Okay.
on Beyblade and came up
There's-
with fucking Bakugan for some reason.
There's just a lot happening.
Yeah.
A lot happening.
What, including Dr. Friedman calling dibs on you for a fight night. So we will talk about that later in the year for sure. So
Sure. I don't know what that means, but I'll follow the doctor in a battle. So that sounds right.
that's exactly what it is. There you go.
Okay. Jazz, do you have anything funny on your desk right now that you can show the class?
The
Nothing
whole cheesecake.
what's funny. I wish. God, that would be
Mhm.
much. What?
What's in the window?
You get your window liquor.
There's this on the window. Like I said, I've got a friend who's been trying to get me to watch it. It's just been sitting here behind me forever. Oh,
What is
here
it?
we go.
Oh, it's
Something that's actually
Promare.
fun. It is
Ooh,
Promare.
Yes. Please watch it. It's
So
one of
I
my
might
favorites.
actually take the time to watch it now because I've actually been sold on it. But there's this trophy that I won when I went on a cruise with family last spring. I won the Harry Potter trivia. Yeah.
You know,
Why,
that,
dude? Why? Why would you even? Why?
you know, you just burned yourself a little bit, like on multiple levels. Trivia. First off, trivia on a cruise ship. Cruise ship
Cruise?
with your parents. Harry
Trivia.
Potter trivia.
No.
You did this to yourself.
It was with my
Jazz.
wife and children.
I don't
Not
think
my
that's
parents.
bad.
It's
You're
not-
telling me you beat out like 15-year-old kids in Harry Potter trivia?
Actually, I beat out a bunch of old people.
No,
That
no.
movie On your
Like
desk?
I can totally see him slapping a buzzer out of a 6-year-old hand. Like, anyway.
Oh my god.
all
Hey,
right.
you guys asked for funny.
And-
That's all I had.
And Jazz is the band geek.
It's
Oh, and I am the band geek.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
Is that what her
definitely
name
the
is,
only.
Jazz?
No, it just happened to be coincidental. I get that question a lot when people can find out. those things.
Jazz, who, oh yeah, man, I used to write parody songs all the time. Oh, will you write some for the podcast? No, I won't do it. I won't do it. I refuse to write any podcast related parody songs. So, all right, gang. On that note, for everybody's sake, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you so much for joining us, Linda. We absolutely appreciate it. Chat, thank you so much for coming in and asking a bunch
Bye,
of questions
Mom.
I totally didn't pay attention to.
Bye,
Thank
Mom.
you, Linda's
Bye,
mom.
Mom.
As always, thanks for swinging by. And as always, hope you all enjoyed the stream. Make it in now. Hit buttons.